This week on Maker Update, fresh takes on old things, a functioning leather Lego bag, a new analog film format, and a self-cooking microwave. Hey out there, it's Jen Schachter tuning in from my home workshop here in California to bring you this week's Maker Update. I hope spring is finally starting to show itself wherever you are. It certainly is here, and we've got a whole lineup of fresh new projects to share with you. Kicking things off with the project of the week, Korea-based maker Hahns Atelier made a beautiful mini briefcase bag in the style of a supersized Lego brick, complete with a detachable card holder block. The whimsy of this project and Hahns' sense of humor aren't lost in translation, and almost belie the fact that he is a serious leather artisan. I really enjoy the combination of traditional handmade craft with contemporary digital tools here. He used a laser cutter to make an MDF box for the main bag structure, leather molds for each of the brick studs, and a CNC mill to carve custom leather stamps out of brass. The mini brick card holder block can be positioned anywhere on the bag's outer face thanks to countersunk magnets, and it snaps in place with a satisfying thump. If you like the Lego bag, you might enjoy some of Hahns' other leather creations. There's one made to look like a binder clip, and even a chocolate bar. In news this week, the world lost famous cryptanalyst and codebreaker Charlotte Betty Webb at the age of 101. When Betty was just a university student, she volunteered to join Britain's efforts in World War II, interviewing for a job at the Bletchley Park Center. She worked there in secrecy, deciphering intercepted enemy messages during the war, and afterward went on to work at the US Pentagon. But she was never able to talk about her role, even to her own parents, until it was declassified 30 years later. To learn more about Betty's fascinating story and the early computer systems used by codebreakers at the time, check out Bletchley's museum website, bletchleypark.org.uk. Ethan Moses, known online as Cameradactyl, launched a cool new analog film format. It uses 4-inch wide color photo paper, the kind you would get your disposable camera pictures printed on at the drugstore. But instead of printing from a roll of negatives, this process uses a camera attachment to shoot directly onto the roll, which is then developed in a custom processor. The whole 3-part ecosystem makes up what Ethan calls the master system. He's funding the manufacturing with a sort of DIY Kickstarter, selling his original test prints and releasing the digital files to build the system one component at a time. You can find out more on his website, cameradactyl.com. Some more projects for you. The latest video by Simone starts off with a second look at an old build, her convertible wooden puzzle table, which after 3 years is in need of some upgrades. She initially built the table as a way to switch between jigsaw puzzles and an ordinary dining table in her kitchen, which, if you haven't seen it, is also a lovely video. It's not often we get to see an old project revisited like this, and I appreciate how years of use have illuminated some ways to streamline the original design. The star of the video, though, is the launch of Simone's newest invention, an all-edge-piece jigsaw puzzle. Inspired by a YouTube comment, Simone developed the idea into a winding river puzzle made up of continuous edge parts and almost no interior pieces. It took Simone the better part of a day to complete the puzzle on her newly refinished table, but she says there's no reason edge-piece puzzles shouldn't be a thing, and is already thinking of ideas for new designs. In a new video on the Tested Team channel, Sean Charlesworth showcased his collection of vintage control panels, which he's refurbished and modified into nostalgic wall art. In some cases, that meant gutting the interior and cutting the display panel to a slimmer profile, but Sean also rewired some of the knobs as functional controls for decorative lighting. Wherever possible, he preserved the original details and mechanisms, and even harvested the internal electronics to use as Greeblies on other projects. I have geeked out with Sean and friends ad nauseum over the aesthetic beauty of old control panels. all those tactile switches, jewel dome lights, and the faceplate typography. but it's sometimes hard to find the right way to display and appreciate them. So it's nice to see new life breathed into pieces like this that would otherwise be destined for the landfill or a dusty attic. Next up, maker-engineer Estefannie clapped back at internet trolls with her crowdsourced self-cooking microwave. Early iterations of the project saw her cautiously hacking into the microwave electronics and replacing the control panel with a single-function 30-second timer, actuated by closing the microwave door. Seeking a more self-sufficient solution, Estefannie then programmed the controls to turn the microwave on for a time frame determined by polling viewers, who could see the food contents online. But even when incentivized with monetary compensation, the results sourced from live humans were alarming. So, in a final twist, Estefannie handed the controls over to Chat-GPT, which she scripted to use image recognition to identify the item placed inside and determine the appropriate cooking time. Surprisingly, AI seemed to act out of more consideration for the outcome, and the edibility of pizza bagels, than the internet. What goes around comes around, it seems, on a slow glass turntable. Sometimes revenge is best served warm. On to tools and tips. First up is a wonderfully simple solution to the problem of sanding 3D prints, or just sanding small parts in general. Uncle Jessy built a compact enclosure to contain the mess of sanding inside a store-bought clear storage container. The finished box works much like an industrial sandblasting cabinet, with a pair of glove inserts to operate your rotary tool or sander inside the chamber, and 3D printed fittings as ports for a vacuum accessory and power cords. He also adapted a cheap poster frame to use as a viewing window on the lid, so you can get a clear view of your part. This is such an accessible project and would be easy to adapt for your own needs and workspace limitations. Jessy also used a new ultrasonic knife he got from a Kickstarter campaign that I definitely want to try out. The next tip comes from Electrician U on YouTube. It's a guide to using Strut channel. I stumbled on this video recently while researching wall mounting solutions for a project, and it's one of those incredibly useful, ubiquitous items that often gets totally overlooked in spaces around us. Strut channel is called different things in different regions and across industries, but essentially it's a structural, slotted metal framing system with a range of compatible connectors and hardware, sort of like a life-size erector set for adults. The video gives an overview on the variations of strut channel and hardware components available, and also applications for different assembly configurations. Prior to this, I had seen strut channel used for basic conduit mounts, but I had no idea of its versatility. There's also so much good information on this channel, and not just for trade electricians. He's got playlists on electrical theory, safety, types of conduit and fasteners. I will definitely be digging further into it. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode. I am feeling really inspired by the projects I found this week to get off my computer and back to my workbench, so that's where I'm headed. Hopefully this has given you some motivation to pick back up an old project that got left behind or start something new. If you want to stay up to date on Maker projects, be sure to subscribe or let us know in the comments if there are projects or channels we should follow. Big thanks to DigiKey as always for continuing to make this show possible and inviting me to host. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.